Hey everybody, I'm Blue, and I said I would see you again in the new year, and I am seeing you again in the new year. Unless you're just now stopping by, in which case, hi, I'm Blue. I just said that. I don't normally sound like this. I'm a little under the weather today, so I apologize if I squeak, but I do feel better than I have the last couple days, so I want to go ahead and record, because we're gonna send off 2025, one last video to celebrate the art that we were able to accomplish in this year. And I think the best way to start is going to be with the very first drawing that I did in 2025, which happens to be of my boy Jack, because of course it was. January 1st is his unofficial birthday, so at the time it had just felt appropriate to give him a sketch. 2024 had been a very, very, very bad year for me, and so I decided to focus my optimism into this piece and try to make him very pleasant, laid back, relaxing. He's just reunited with the Crons. Everything is going to be okay. That is unfortunately not what happened, but hey, I got a cool piece out of it. I had just downloaded Procreate as a Christmas present to me from me, and I did not know how the line art worked. I didn't know what any of these pins were, so it was a lot of floundering trying to figure out how to even get this to work. I had convinced myself at the time that Procreate just did not have pressure sensitivity at all, which is really silly now that I know more about the program. And if you're a sane person, you might be like, hey, this is a little bit ambitious for something in a brand new program that you've never touched before, isn't it? Yeah, that's kind of how I roll. It's what is in my brain, and I will try to make it work one way or another. I was really happy with that leaf effect, though. It made me really happy to just have those gentle shadows, and the texture that the brush naturally created on them. As somebody who normally really wants to do everything by hand, I'm not gonna lie, having that first little taste of what brushes were capable of, it was a little bit addicting. And it also led to one of the main focuses of my art for the year of 2025, which was texture. I really wanted to focus on the way that things felt, And now I want to take a moment and kind of do a small little compilation of different main traits that my art had in 2025. And you know what? We were just talking about texture, so let's keep going with that. One of the main things that I really wanted to focus on was texture, grittiness. I wanted it to feel like you could touch the paper. Whether I succeeded or not, I'm not exactly sure, but I do have some pieces I'm very fond of. Like this particular drawing of Clara and Jack, I'd originally done it as a soft little animation to where there was a light going in and out. But even just this, where you can see the grittiness of the lines, creating this soft and harsh nature of the scene coupled with the blood and the lack of colors, I really like this piece, and it might be my standout for this particular style. I did this drawing of AZ from Pokemon Legends ZA when the first trailer that had his face in it came out, and I was so excited for all the lore and implications, and I just wanted to try to capture that excitement that I had, that idea of finally giving this character a happy ending, and nope, I'm gonna pause there. We are not gonna be talking about Pokemon Legends ZA. But I do really like how soft this looks, and the childlike aspect of the pencils I feel is really charming. And the final one for this section is Jack with the Crons. I think of this picture often. It was the first one where I really tried to go in with it and try to make what had been previously this dark and gritty look into something warm and light. And I think this is what I was able to carry on for the rest of the year. But that's not all. On the more practical side of things, I am continuing my ever-growing slow crawl to eventually figure out anatomy. And I don't have a lot of pieces to compare this, but I did want to start with my outfit drawings that I do. I have this croquis of Jack that I just draw over the top of. And on the left, you see where he was at the very start of this year. And then on the right, you see the design that I came up with towards the end of the year where I corrected the anatomy on the croquis. And I think it's just an easy way to see how much I've focused on it and how much I've grown. And learning often is this slow, meticulous process where you gain knowledge over time and you have to trust the process and take your tiny victories where you can get them. But sometimes you just want to get the idea out of your head as fast as you possibly can, and that's not okay because then you're going to make bad art, and if you make bad art, well then why would you do that? And so that's another thing I worked on this year, is getting that mentality out of my head by drawing art as quickly as I could, just to get an idea that I wasn't going to develop all the way down and on paper, because everything you draw gives you just a little bit more experience. And just like the time I spent drawing these, I'm not going to linger on them with some lore or anything crazy, but this is Mikola with a glass of water. Why? Because one of my friends hadn't drank water that day, and I wanted to give them a reminder that was a little bit more effective than me nagging them. This is Clara, our rogue from Giant Slayer, dressed up as Calum Alasim from Twisted Wonderland, because those two would throw the best parties. And lastly, just Alia and Ivarian Kron being super duper cute together with minimal lighting. And honestly, this is one of my favorite drawings of the year. Alright, and here we go in no particular order. These are 3 of my favorite drawings that I did this year. These are the pieces that when I'm scrolling through my digital sketchbook, I pause and I look at them for a moment and I go, oh, I drew that! Because they just make me happy for one reason or another. So again, this is in my humble opinion, my favorite pieces that I did this year, starting with Nelthor. I just stinking love Nelthor, and this is the drawing that I was debating on doing for forever. I hadn't really drawn any fan art for any podcast or anything that I watched before, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to do this. But gosh, this mummy, and the fan reaction that I got from this was so genuine and so sincere that I kind of have no choice but to love it. I was so excited to share a piece of art and see people get excited by it, which is what makes this one stand out to me. This next one you will not find on any of my social media pages because it is largely a trace, and unfortunately I don't remember what it was a trace of. One of my friends had sent me this picture and was like, you need to draw Jack like this. And so I did. I drew really gritty, bloody backstory Jack with this pose, and it works. There is something tactile about this that makes me uncomfortable, and I love it. And last, I have this drawing of my character, Go-Go. And I wasn't going to include her in this because it does just kind of make me sad. This is something that I stayed up very, very late after a very bad session drawing because I had to get my feelings out somehow. And yet, I kind of did the opposite of what I wanted. Instead of getting the feelings out, I immortalized them in this piece. And every time I scroll past it, I can't help but think of those moments. But that's enough reminiscing about 2025. We are here today to say goodbye to that accursed year and greet the new one strong. So what I'm going to do is show you my very first drawing of the year 2026, which is a redraw of the first drawing I did in 2025. I don't know, I've never really been like a New Year's resolution kind of person, never been anybody to start the year off with my big ambition that I'm going to set forth into the world. I kind of let them find me. But I'm curious, do you guys have any New Year's resolutions, any art goals, or any art projects that you're really excited to bust into this year? The only major ambition or goal that I have for this year is to finish chapter 1 of Spark and Stone and get it posted somewhere with the art and the writing and everything all done and completed. It's a very, very little goal. I think it's 100% accomplishable, but it's a little bit intimidating to me. I don't know, do you guys have that where you're really excited to work on a project and you're really excited to share the project, but the idea of actually posting it is terrifying, and so you just sit there fine tweaking it forever? Because that's kind of my permanent curse. Part of why I was so focused on draw it bad, draw it quickly this year. But you know what we're not drawing bad, drawing quickly? Jack. I did kind of take my time with this, but after looking at the canvas information, it did say that I spent essentially the same amount of time on this one as I did the one the year previous. Which time isn't some great quantifier of your work, but I thought it was funny that without really focusing on it or thinking about it too hard, I ended up being within 15 minutes of the drawing that I did last year. And even this early in the process, we can see that there's a couple of things that I've learned along the way, such as, hey, you can use your pressure on your pen in the Procreate program. Isn't that neat? This is also where I start to drift away from the original drawing and not doing it as a one-to-one recreation. I decided to use this as a marker for both my mental state and the change in Jack's for the start of this year. Where last year we were looking at the end of a really, really bad year and hoping for better, This year, we're gonna acknowledge that it might rain, but we're gonna hold in there anyways and grade it with peace and quiet and hopeful tranquility as we just do the best that we can. And I love me a good side-by-side comparison, so let's go ahead and take a look at this real quick. And I'll be honest, I think the background on the 2025 one I enjoy just a little bit more. I'm more attracted to vibrant colors anyways, but I think the moss texture is really good, especially for having no idea what I was doing. But the composition overall on our new one for 2026 does feel a lot stronger. So maybe that'll be the goal for the year. Maybe we'll work on composition. That's a lot of work, constantly and consistently. Maybe not. We'll see. The year's still young and there's still plenty of time to make decisions. And I hope that with this and through this, you're able to kind of look back at your own 2025 and find a few good things. Did you level up in a certain art skill? Did you have something really nice happen in your relationship? Or maybe there was just some really good meals that are worth smiling about even now. Regardless, I hope you can find something to look forward to in the coming year, and I am gonna look forward to having an actual voice to record with in the next video. So until then, later!